Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scholarly Creations, and I'm back in a new location with an updated 2021 anticipated book releases video. I wanted to do this. I mentioned in my April wrap-ups that I was probably going to do an update since I've pretty much read most of my 2021 anticipated releases from the video I did back in December of 2020. I have also read some of the 2020 anticipated releases from that video. Just so you know, I'm not going to be reading Empire of the Vampire. It's not happening. You can guess or speculate as to why that's not going to happen. I don't want to talk about it. So anyway, it's not a big deal either way. It's just a book that I'm not going to read. Now, I have my computer in front of me, and what I do is when I look into anticipated releases, like upcoming releases, I put them on a Google Calendar I have for books, music, and movies. So right now I have that up. It's mostly full of books, so let's go over the anticipated releases I had for 2021 and whether I've read them or not. So I had, I believe, 5 books. Yes, 5 books on that list. A Court of Silver Flames, which I have read. Faithless and Death by J.D. Robb. I have not read. I need to catch up on that series. Raphael by Laurel K. Hamilton, which I read. The Queen's Weapons by Anne Bishop, which I read. And the last was Wild Sign by Patricia Briggs, which I did read as well. So that's it. Let's talk about the books that I do anticipate. Some have come out, and that's fine. I just didn't know about them at the time when I did my 2021 anticipated releases, or I didn't, what's the word? I wasn't reading that author or that series or this series at the time, so I wasn't anticipating it because I wasn't looking for it. So first off, we're going to start out with a book that I now already own. I hadn't read it yet at the time of filming this, and that is Crown of Gilded Bones, and this is by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 3 in the Blood and Ash series, which, as you guys know, I have been enjoying this year. I read book 1 in March and book 2 in April, April is when book 3 came out. This is a fantasy romance series. Okay, so we're following Poppy, who is the maiden of her people. She has been sequestered and sheltered, like to the point where she's hardly ever played with other kids growing up. She doesn't get to go outside. She always has to walk around veiled. And she and her people have this thing called the Ascension, and everyone's waiting for Poppy to ascend because she is so special. And then there's Hawk, who is a new guard who is assigned to her and who has a past of his own. And the world that they're in, there are these 2 kingdoms. One has Poppy's has defeated the other one in the past. The older kingdom is seen as monstrous and trying to constantly infiltrate and take over Poppy's kingdom. So where Poppy fits into this is the key to the story, the plot. And yeah, I have been loving this. And I can't wait to read The Crown of Gilded Bones. Now, the next one is... There's two coming out May 11th, which has already passed. The first is The Master of Jinn, and this is by P. Djeli Clark. I do believe this is their first full-length novel. I have read their short stories and loved them all. So I cannot wait for this novel to read it. I don't know if I'll get to it this year, but eventually, right? We're following Fatma, who's like this agent in Cairo, who, even though she's the youngest woman in the agency, and apparently last year she prevented the destruction of the universe. So there's a secret brotherhood to this being Al-Jahiz, and they've been murdered, and it's up to Fatma to figure out who the killer is. The only clue they have is that this killer claims to be Al-Jahiz, and he has come to the present from the past to basically stop the modern age, basically, because he doesn't like where things have gone. So it's up to Fatma to stop whoever this person is and figure out who they are and if they really are Al-Jahiz. And this is their P. Djeli Clark's first full-length novel, but they, like I said, they've had short stories, and 3 of them have been set in this universe. I just checked, and I didn't realize it was 3, so I might be reading another one before this. But I do want to get to this because steampunk has always sounded interesting to me, and like I said, I did like the other short stories that I read from this author. Releasing on the same day is Son of Storm, and this is by, and I might probably butcher this name, Sui Davies Okungbowa. This, I believe, is a debut novel as well, adult fantasy, Afrofuturism or African futurism, it seems. It's an epic fantasy. I don't know much. I really quite accidentally came across this book and did request it from my library in the hopes that I might get an arc, but it didn't happen. That's okay. I hope my library gets it. So I honestly was just very attracted to the cover. I like that there's this interesting virtual reality or augmented reality thing you can do with your phone to see a special video when you hover over the cover. And yeah, Orbit Books put that together, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, I was already interested in the book before I saw that, but like just the regular cover drew me in. So, okay, we're following a scholar called Danso, who is very curious about the stories, the lore of what's happening outside of his city of Bonsai, but the leadership is trying to discourage him from finding out. So there's a little bit kind of a journalistic feeling to this character. But anyway, Danso is a little bit of a rebel in himself, so he goes to find out anyway, and he discovers this warrior magic and things that he didn't know existed. Obviously, outside of the city, there's apparently a secret dark history to the city, and Danso discovers all of this, and his discovery leads to a lot of upheaval. So, yeah, I am even more interested now because that sounds cool. Alright, so the next book is Witch Shadow by Susan Dennard. This year I started the Witchland series, and this is book 4. I'm participating in Witchlands Alone, which is run by Jade at JD Ray Reads. Link down in the description. And yeah, we've read 3 books so far, and the 4th one is coming out on June 22nd. Or I should say we've read 4 books so far. We've read 3 full novels and 1 novella. So book 4, the 4th full-length novel, is coming out on June 22nd. Now in this, we're following several people, but we're starting out with book 1, The Truth Witch. We're following Safi and Isolde, who are 2 young witches who are thread sisters, and they live in a world where most people are witches of some kind, meaning they have some type of magic in different categories. Safi is a truth witch, Isolde is a thread witch, and Safi has to hide the fact that she's a truth witch, even though it's illegal to hide your magic, because there hasn't been a truth witch in a very long time, and the various governments and various nations would love to get their hands on a truth witch to use her, and that doesn't even count any kind of criminal organizations. So yeah, they just want to live their life together as friends, but that's not in the cards. There's also the backdrop of this is there's a 20-year truce between the various nations of the world that is coming up on its 20th anniversary, and the question in the air is whether they will all re-sign the truce or whether it will dissolve and war will be back on the table. There are nations of various sizes and factions within them that are not just the government, that are kind of all having their own interests at heart. So I'm enjoying it. So I would like to read the 4th book. Next anticipated release is Ace of Spades, and that's supposed to come out on July 15th. Ace of Spades is by Farida Abiki Imide. I'm butchering that. I just know I am, because I'm putting my Hispanic accents on there. This is not that. So all I know, I've seen the cover around, and I'm realizing there's been some book Twitter discourse about this, or this might have been the impetus for some book Twitter discourse. But anyway, I found out that this is actually a dark academia, and it's with Black people, which would honestly be a first for me as far as books go, probably movies. I know that I like the idea of dark academia. I like the aesthetic, and I like the movies that I've seen. And then I have read a couple of dark academia over the years, not very many. I would like to read more, and I don't see why I'm not reading something that's not white people, not American white students or teachers. So yeah, this is I guess a YA contemporary thriller set in academy, a private academy. They're dealing with um, institutionalized racism, and it seems like there's kind of like a Gossip Girl aspect to this. Like there's an anonymous person who's texting people's business, their secrets out, and somebody's you decides they want to figure out who this anonymous texter is, and why they're doing what they're doing. And I guess this since it's a thriller, I feel like most often murder is what's involved. So I'm assuming murder is most often, I think, what I come across with as far as dark academia, like the mystery aspect, the thriller aspect, like finding out who the murderer is, stopping the murderer. That's like the basic foundational plot. I'm sure there's other stuff. I mean, there's already institutionalized racism and mentioned, and it's LGBT plus. So, next, anticipated release. As you can see, a whole lot more, and we're going later in the year. Alright, this is a surprise. August 17th, Laurel K. Hamilton is coming out with a new book that is not from one of either of her, well, two series. That is brand spanking new characters. I don't think this is even fantasy. Or is it? Nope. It says urban fantasy, so never mind. A Terrible Fall of Angels. This is book 1 in the Zaniel Havelock series. So, okay, no standalone, but it's a series. Meet Detective Daniel Havelock, a man with a special ability to communicate directly with angels. A former trained angel speaker, he devoted his life to serving both the celestial beings and his fellow humans with his gift, but a terrible betrayal compelled him to leave that life behind. Now he's a cop who is still working on the side of angels, but where there are angels, there are also demons. So this is a whole different type of thing, and it's a male perspective, which is also different. This is the first new book, new series, different characters that Laurel K. Hamilton has written in decades. Since she first published the Mary Gentry series and then Anita Blake series. So this is one of my all-time favorite authors. And I want to give this new book a try. I don't know much except for what I just read to you, a quick thing from the synopsis. Also releasing that day is Requiem of Silence by L. Penelope. Now, earlier this year, I read the first book in this series, the Earthsingle Chronicles, Song of Blood and Stone, and I do plan on continuing. There are currently 3 full novels and 3 novellas. I've only read the first one, so God knows when I will get to this, the 4th full novel and the end of the series. But I do want to, assuming that I don't start hating the series halfway through. So we're in the first book, there are 2 kingdoms, Elsira and Lagrimar, and they've been separated by this kind of invisible wall for centuries. There's magic that keeps the magic users, Earthsingers, on one side and the non-magic users on the other. And we have 2 characters. This is a fantasy romance series. We have Jasmine, though, who is a Earth singer, but she's on the land of Elsira, where there's supposed to be no magic users, and because of that, she's an outcast. And FYI, magic users are dark-skinned people. They're black and brown people. So it's very easy to tell who is an Earth singer and who is not. So she is on the outskirts of the Elsira, and literally and figuratively. And one day, while she is in her cabin preparing to live through a storm, some Lagrimarian soldiers and the spy from Elsira they caught come across her cabin. None of them realizing that they have somehow crossed through the magical veil, keeping their true kingdoms apart. So there's Jack, who is the spy, and he gets Jasmine to help him because he has a great goal quest that he is on, and things go from there. How they figure out the veil, the magical wall, and what happened to separate their two kingdoms. So, very interesting. Like I said, I want to read more, so why not? Next, we spoke of the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout that I started earlier this year. And I'm going to read book 3, but there is an offshoot series starting soon, and that is the Flesh and Fire series. And book 1 is A Shadow in Ember. And let me double check. That is coming out in October 19th. So in this series, we'll be following the story of Nyktos and his consort. I can't really say much more than that because that would be spoilers for books 2 and 3 of the Blood and Ash series, of which this is an offshoot. But I am excited for this. I do believe it is going to be a novella. No page count yet, but I think it's going to be a novella. So, the last book is The Becoming by Nora Roberts. This is book 2 in the Dragonheart's Legacy series. I read book 1 last year. I got the ARC copy of it, and I'm a Nora Roberts fan. There is not a book by her that I have not enjoyed in some way, shape, or fashion, and I do want to see where the story goes. So book 1 in the series was The Awakening, and that's basically what it was. We were following Breen Kelly, who was a girl whose father had left her with her mother, who was very strict and very sharp as a person. Though she loved her daughter, she pushed her into having a very upright, money-focused, practical life, which is not what Breen really wanted for herself, though she didn't really have time to think about this. So now we fast forward. Breen has lots of college debt, and she's working in a job she doesn't really love. It's very stressful. Her mom goes away on vacation, and while Breen is house sitting for her, she comes across some paperwork that says there is a secret bank account that her dad had set up for her, and has been putting money into Green, with some help from her guy friend, decides to leave her job and become the writer she really wanted to be. And while doing that, she goes on a vacation to Ireland, partially also to discover what happened to her father, who she thought had written her off. While in Ireland, she discovers some things about her father and his past that are very not believable to a modern contemporary woman, even one with a broad imagination. But she soon sees that these things are the truth, and she goes through a portal and everything. There's magic, there's dragons, there's a love interest, and I did not expect the way that the last book kind of ended. It wasn't like shock and awe, but I was like, oh, because Nora Roberts kind of has a formula. And since I've read damn near every book she's written, I know the formula, and it's a comfort. But this was just slightly off from that formula, so I'm intrigued and want to read The Becoming, which is book 2 in that series. So, hi guys, 'tis I, editing Lashette, not looking my best, but that's fine. I just had to come in here and tell you, since this video is still not up yet, about another anticipated release for this year. That is book number 14 in Nalini Singh's Guild Hunter series, Archangels Light. And that is coming out October 26th, and highly anticipated because another series by this author that I love. And this is Ilium and Aodin's book, which we've been speculating. Will she? Won't she? Are they meant to be a couple? These are two male angels. So, yeah, and it looks like yes, and honestly, it will probably not be a happy ever after, but I'm looking forward to it. The Guild Hunter series is paranormal fantasy, where we're living in modern times, mostly set in New York City, but not always. And, you know, the world is as it is, but there are vampires and there are angels and there are archangels. Archangels are the top of the totem pole. They run things. And, guild hunters are human beings who are hired to capture rogue vampires who try to get out of their contracts with angels. So the first couple of books focused on the Archangel of New York and Elena, a special guild hunter, but we've been getting into other couples since like the 5th book, I think. Yeah. So another anticipated release for 2021 that I will try my best to read this year because I love it. Yeah, that's it. I'm sure I will come up with other books to anticipate because last year, what came out? I didn't update my anticipated reads, but oh yes. So Brandon Sanderson put out Dawn Shard and then Rhythm of War, and I was in the midst of I just started the Stormlight Archives. So it was a time. I think at this point, I have, with these, from my previous anticipated releases, I only have 2 books I have not read, and I do want to get to them. That is the Peace Talks from Dresden Files. And, oh no, it's only 1 book. So never mind. Wish me luck when I do my 2022 anticipated releases and update, because that's going to take a while. But yeah, so let me know if you're anticipating any of these books, if you read any of the ones that are already out by the time this video goes up, and what you are anticipating reading if it's not in this video. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.